your thighs rubbed together? Are they sweaty in hot weather? Because that is exactly what mine do. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's Real Girl Talk, I really wanted to talk about some body positivity. Specifically, I don't know if you can see this. Wait. Thighs. Oh yeah, we're talking about all sorts of thighs. Small thighs, curvy thighs, chicken thighs. Yeah, we're gonna talk about them all. And we're even gonna talk about that glorious thigh gap as well. I know that the thigh gap is still somewhat of a controversial subject, but I wanted to talk about how to take some steps into making peace with your thighs, whether they are gapless or not. Also guys, let me just say as well that I do not in any way, shape, or form have a thigh gap. And this is not a bashing video if you do have a thigh gap. It's just that I have been in situations, like I will never forget it. I was in my first term of college ever. I was in a sociology class, and one of the topics that came up was, how did we feel about the thigh gap situation? A lot of people were either for it or they were against it, but I will never forget that there was this girl who stood up in class, and she was already just naturally thin anyways. Homegirl was eating like crazy junk food in class every day, could just seriously gained 5 pounds just by looking at what she was eating. She was just already naturally thin, and she had a thigh gap, and she stands up in class and she says, I don't understand what the big issue is. Goes on to talk about how if you don't have a thigh gap, that you just need to work towards one. If you really want one, get some dedication, get some structure. Basically, she was just like, get over it, okay? I was just sitting there like, okay. I just thought that it was really important for you all to know that I am no way, shape, or form in any area have a thigh gap at all, and that this is not a bashing video if you do have a thigh gap, because I'm going to be talking about both sides of the party, how to accept your thighs, how to make peace with them on both sides. And if you don't believe me and you're watching this and you have a thigh gap, then skip on to step 4. Yeah, so this is going to be a great video for you guys on how to take steps to making peace with your thighs, and I hope that this is all a really great video for you, and that it's informative and that it's helpful. And yeah, I don't really think there's anything left to say, so let's get to it. Number 1 is acceptance, and I think that this is probably the most important and the most difficult stage through this whole process. As a society, something that we all learn at a very early stage in life is self-loathing, and this comes from the media, and this comes from bullies who also have self-loathing for themselves, but that's another topic and another video for another day. But as hard as it may seem, guys, we have got to accept our bodies for what they are. And a lot of this stuff dealing with the thigh gap is more or less genetics anyways, because honestly I have seen small girls who naturally already have a thigh gap. I've also seen girls who have curvy thighs who have a thigh gap too. I think if anything, it's more or less, in my opinion, is more or less just genetics. Point blank period. And lastly guys, and the last part of the acceptance stage is, guess what? If you don't have a thigh gap, there is nothing wrong with you. And if you do have a thigh gap, guess what? There is nothing wrong with you too. I cannot stress this enough, okay? You guys, we are all beautiful whether our thighs touch or not. And God, He didn't make anything not beautiful. We decide that as to what is ugly or not. He never had that intent. Step number 2 is try not to be so self-conscious. This was something that, before I made peace with my own thighs, this was something that I was so paranoid about. Oh my gosh. You have got to stop thinking that everybody notices or even cares if we have a thigh gap or not. I know that if you're someone who desires to have the thigh gap or thinner thighs like I was, I understand how hard it is to turn off that switch in your head of looking at everybody else's thighs like, oh my gosh, you know, if I were to lose some more weight, or if I even begin to work out, I would want to have thighs like her over there, or like her over there. I get it. What we also have to realize, guys, is that not everybody is thinking the same way that we do, you know? Not going around observing other people saying, you know what, over there, yeah, you know, she's got a thigh gap. Over there, she ain't got no thigh gap, guys. Gap, okay, yep. Gapper, gapless. Gapper, gapless. They're not thinking that at all, guys. Trust me. And that includes boys as well. Oh my gosh, I know that as girls, sometimes we always want to think that, you know, the thigh gap is something desirable to have, especially when it comes down to guys, because guys think that it looks so good on girls. Please, half the guys don't even know what a thigh gap is and why we even want it. Then there are some exceptions of guys who actually do know what it is, but they don't understand the big deal about it. So if anything, it's just us putting pressure on ourselves because somebody told us that we have to. Just try to get out of your head and stop thinking that everybody's eyes are on your thighs and whether they are touching or not. And number 3. Now, I don't have a particular title for this step other than my fellow jean rippers. Oh my gosh. I see you. I understand you. I'm one of you. I don't think that I will ever forget the first time that I ripped my jeans in the thigh area. Like, oh my gosh. I thought it was Godzilla. It hurt me to my core because all I could think about was, you know what, if I was so much more skinnier, something like this would have never even happened. But the true reality is that those were my favorite jeans. I wore them almost every day, were washed like who knows how many times, and finally the wear and tear just finally took a toll on them. I understand completely the pain that you guys might go through when the little hole in your jean appears in the thigh area. It's like, how can something so small have such a big impact on how we view ourselves, you know? And as cheesy as this may sound, I do not care, but you know what? That little hole in your jeans, that little rip in your jeans does not define you. It is not a reminder of how ugly you might think that your body is. If anything, a rip in somebody's jeans in that thigh area happens all the time, guys. So it's not your fault, okay? It's not your body's fault. If anything, it's the manufacturer's fault and how they design those jeans, okay? So please, please, please don't ever think that your thighs are horrible because something like that happens. I know it's hard to understand it now, but please don't think that, okay? I mean, gosh, if I could only show you guys all the jeans that I have ripped over the years, I'm pretty sure I could build like a tent for at least 15 of us to sleep in with all those jeans that have been ripped in the thigh area. I'm just saying. But you know what? You just gotta throw them away, okay? And move on. Number 4. We have got to stop hating on one another. Okay, if you are watching this and you have a thigh gap and you're already naturally skinny on top of that, then I am so sorry for all the flack that you get. Just like how all of you girls can't help that this was just the way that you were built, well, us gapless girls can't help it that we were built this way too. So we really just need to stop hating and getting mad with one another about this. If anything, we really have just got to join together and take all this energy and this anger and point it towards the media, because the last time that I checked, they were the ones who started this in the first place. Number 5 is the ultimate peace treaty. Guys, we only get one body for the rest of our time here on Earth, and unfortunately it took me what seemed like forever to realize that I don't want to spend a lifetime hating me, and you shouldn't want to do that same thing either. Isn't it exhausting waking up every morning only to compare ourselves to whose beauty standard. Quite frankly, it's a standard of beauty that doesn't even exist because of all the photoshopping in the media and the crash dieting and the eating disorders going on to fit into one particular mold of beauty. Guys, that is not beauty, okay? Beauty is unique. Your thighs are unique. Our thighs should not look like a product being created at an assembly line at the beauty factory, okay? That is not beauty, okay? One size does not fit all, and there is not just one mold of beauty either. We are all different, okay? And we're all unique, and that is what makes us beautiful. I mean, if we all look the same, wouldn't that be one boring place to live? I mean, everybody's like a bunch of Stepford wives or robots, all being made by the same manufacturer. Now, if you want to lose weight, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Like, if you want to make a change and make an improvement to yourself on the outer side or even on the inside, there is nothing wrong with that at all, guys. If anything, please hear me out when I say it's just make peace with who you are right now in this moment. If you've got thicker thighs, if you don't have that thigh gap, make peace with that. I have seen way too many times from people on TV to people that I've gone to work with, people I went to school with, who have lost weight, like ample amounts of weight, but they can't even see themselves as their thinner selves. Like, they're still in this same frame of mind that they are the bigger versions of themselves. Sit there and they're just picking themselves apart about, oh, you know what, this is what I still need to work on, and this right here is still not tight enough, and I see myself as 50 pounds heavier or 100 pounds heavier because they never made peace with their body in the first place. It's so important that you do that, or else you're going to end up being in this vicious cycle where you can't even see the fact that you've made this improvement to yourself because you hated your body so much in the first place. Now, guys, I am far from perfect, okay? There have still been plenty of times where I look at my thighs and I wonder why they are the way that they are. I have to remind myself that, you know, I'm not that same person in my mind the way that I was, you know, 2 years ago. A while, like 2 years, a while to finally get confidence in my body, whether I had a thigh gap or not, because that honestly used to really bother me. Understand that confidence is something that does not happen overnight. It's something that takes time, but when you do get it, guys, it's the most amazing feeling ever, you know, the fact that, you know, who am I comparing myself to? If anything, I need to compare myself to my own self. But at the end of the day, I always have to remind myself that I am more than just whether my thighs touch together or not. And I have to remind myself that there is nothing wrong with me. I am beautiful both on the inside and the out, and that you guys also have to think the same thing about yourselves as well. So important that you guys realize that you are beautiful, okay? We are all more. Everybody hear me out when I say this, that we are all more than our thighs having a gap or they're up together like they're about to make some fire, okay? So I hope that you guys all enjoyed this video and that these steps helped you in one way or another. If you're somebody who has a thigh gap and you just need to make some peace with your thighs, or if you're somebody who doesn't have a thigh gap and you just got to make peace with your thighs, I hope that these steps have all helped us in some sort of way, okay? Just remember that you are beautiful, both on the inside and out. And also don't forget to subscribe as well, and remember also to be beautiful and be you. Love you guys.